Sports Card Culture Podcast, number 18. We're launching off. It is March 2nd. It feels like spring, John.
Oh, yes, it does.
It was 45 degrees. The snow is melting. Spring is here. Baseball's in the air.
We got a high of over 40 for the next 10 days.
It's amazing.
I'm excited.
My emotional level of like, it took like a 3 or 4,
I got out of the car and I went, damn, it's nice.
I was like, is this winter feeling longer than normal? And now I'm like, oh, good, it's over.
So
almost.
for those of you who are not from Minnesota and you're from like the South, like in
You're
Kansas
spoiled. You're
or something,
spoiled.
like 40 is a very good thing in Minnesota. I can wear a light
we
sweater.
start bathing, outside.
Yeah. Sweatshirt weather.
Yeah, we start getting tans at about 60.
Tan. Well, we don't have a lot of topics this one, but they're big topics. We're gonna. It's not a volume day. It is a intense day.
It's gonna be good. I'm excited.
Right.
There's a lot happening in the hobby.
So we didn't really talk about order, but let's get the real quick one out of the way.
Okay.
Luka Doncic 101 sold for $4.5 million.
Yep.
What is your opinion on spending that much on a guy who's in his third year period? Even if you think he's going to be the guy.
Yeah, I think it's risky. I also just got a text about that card and the Kobe Bryant Topps Chrome Refractor Black Label.
Okay.
Just finished on Golden for 1.1. That's a way better investment.
Oh, way better.
Way better investment than the Luka.
How many
Now
black labels? Like one?
There's only two. So there's
two.
There's two Chrome Refractor Black. And I just thought to myself, why is Luka 4 times that Kobe card? Like that Kobe card's.
Let's understand. I talk to my customers about this all the time, and I think I brought it up a bunch of times on the podcast already. Relative value.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the hobby, it's really good to go, hey, this card is selling for this much. But what else could I get for that amount of money?
Yeah.
And so I refer to it as relative value. I think that's probably the right term. But it's like, can I get 4 Kobe Black labels, even though there's only 2?
Yeah.
Or 1 Luka? I don't even think that's a question.
It's not even a question.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, if I could get a Black Label LeBron Chrome Refractor and a Kobe for
and
the price of.
Cool Jordan. And,
So I'll say this much. At the $1 million, I think the Kobe's undervalued. My buddy texts me. He goes, you want to go half on this thing when the auction was still going? I'm like, honestly, there's enough really rich guys that card at $1 million, I think in 5 years is $2 million.
I don't think the issue is rich guys.
Well, I'm saying someone might really want that, or a business who's going to sell.
No, what I'm saying is,
and
this is going to go into probably our next topic. Let's go right into it then.
But I want to hear your thoughts on that card.
It's a no.
Yeah. What do you think it should have gone for? Like, what do you think fair market should have been?
What was it, Adam?
It's 101 out of National Treasures.
National Treasures.
It's his big, 101 logo.
I mean, the way the market is now, if it went for 300,000 or 400,000, I guess I'd be like,
no, it's worth more than that.
Yeah, but it's not.
But the Giannis 101 went for 1.9. So I think
less than Giannis.
No, it's worth less than Giannis, but it's worth more than 300.
Okay, fair enough. But here's my problem. No. But here's the thing. Giannis. I'm about to say something. I don't think that's right. But Giannis has established himself far more.
He's won 2 MVPs.
So here's the question. The
Sure.
question is: Luka blows his knee out tonight, can never play again. What is that card worth? What is your risk? That card's worth $1,000?
Well, I had somebody in the shop the other day try to argue that Luka, what he's already done overseas.
Wrong. I don't know what you're about to say.
They said he's already a Hall of Famer. It's just it's insanity.
I didn't even let you finish.
I know they actually tried to tell me because of his championship overseas and what. I'm like, no, you need to lay off the drugs. That's
now here's the thing. Here's the thing about that card.
Yeah.
If you got the money, right, and you're gonna take that long-term approach.
Yep.
And he wins a couple championships. And he's an international superstar.
Dude, they're not even going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, this could be worth more.
They're so bad.
They might not even make the playoffs.
No, I'm just saying in his career. Like,
I'll say this much. Right now, Luka.
No.
They might not ever make the playoffs.
No, true. But he
he already hit a game winner in the playoffs. He already hit a game winner in the playoffs. He's made the playoffs.
Nobody's going to care.
No, I know, but understand something. Luka right now is being overpaid in the hobby.
Absolutely.
And there's a whole bunch of other guys being underpaid.
I
think Curry would be as far as I would go in investing in a current player who's established enough to risk that level of dollars, like
Yeah.
$4 million. Like I think a Curry 101 would be a card where like I think it's probably more like a $2 million
I got one
card
for
or
you.
a $3 million card.
I got one for you. Patrick Mahomes is overpriced.
Yeah, and he's still risky.
Because the risk is, and I always go through this progression.
Yep.
If his career ends tonight, then what? So,
Yeah.
and then I always refer to it as like what percentage risk. Now I make up the percentages. There's no
Like, if I-
calculation. But
yeah.
Trout, the risk on Trout, even though he doesn't have quote unquote Hall of Fame numbers, he can definitely.
No, he
take
does. He's already ahead of
Yeah.
25 Hall of
No,
Famers.
but what I'm saying
and
is
more.
he
Yeah.
can take the Kirby Puckett route where he
Sure.
was the best hitter for 10 years,
Yep.
and then he
And
gets
the
his
best-
leg cut off, and they're like, dude, you're in. You're a monster, right?
He's absolutely in the Hall of
Right.
Fame, yes.
And so, okay, cool, right? So Trout has risk because he's not going to be worth. He'll go down if he loses his career, or if he
Yep.
ends his career tonight. But he's not going to go down to nothing.
He's not going to zero. No.
But Luka can go down to zero. A National Treasures 101 for $1,000 is to zero on that card. Maybe he gets $1,000.
I mean, because but understand one thing. This is the way markets work. Because that card has been sold for $4 million, it'll never go to zero because
No,
there's going to be intrinsic value in that
But
card.
you got to remember,
yeah.
$10,000 for that card is basically zero.
Yeah, but it'll never be a 10 even. It'll still be 100 or it'll be 200.
I don't think that's right.
No, with inflation, which actually.
I don't think that's right at all.
So
100,000 if his career ends tonight? No way.
I mean, yeah,
It-
we'll disagree. To
No, I
disagree.
mean, there's no way we can get an answer to that. But I
So
don't see that.
let me transition this to our next big topic.
All right.
If you're involved in sports cards at all, if you're on eBay, or Facebook, if you're in social media platforms, you've heard the rumor was coming for weeks
Yeah.
that PSA was going to raise their pricing starting this quarter, March 1st, based on the sale of the company finally getting finalized end of January, and the new ownership.
Is it finalized?
Yes, it's over. It's
Okay,
done.
and it
Yep,
didn't have to
all
go
the shares have
through-
been bought.
It didn't have to go through mergers and acquisitions because they're going private,
Right,
and that's why they could do it so
It's
fast.
done. Yeah.
Okay.
So the topic was, what price are they going to raise, grading to? And so we worked all weekend. We had a lot of people bring cards. We sent out everything we could of ours prior to that date, so Sunday night. And literally at midnight, I had some guys that were on doing their own grading.
Yeah, and it changed.
It literally changed. And the stuff they had in there that wasn't finalized had to get resubmitted
Whoa.
at the higher
Did
rate.
they have to retype it in and stuff?
Nope, but it literally what happened is it went back and said choose which service level, and now it was the new pricing on the service
Well,
level.
if they didn't have to re-enter,
So-
that would have been like.
And it was, this is interesting, John. So I had a bunch of stuff that I got typed in, and I took it to the post office on Monday in Bloomington.
Yeah.
Because Savage was super backed up. And the lady, I bring the box up, registered mail, insured for $40,000, da-da-da-da.
Okay.
And she goes, why is everyone dropping packages off for these people today?
Whoa.
She actually told me, she's like, there's been...
You asked her, you're like, how many have you seen?
Well, and I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, I've had numerous people in here today. Like, she didn't give me enough. Specifically mailing to this place. What is this place? I'm like,
Wow.
they just changed their pricing. I mean, I didn't want to
Tell her what was it.
necessarily I didn't want to make it obvious.
Hey,
But I was
why
like,
don't you just rob
everybody wanted to try to get their cards
Yeah.
off before the price went up and da da da.
It's just no
So
big deal.
clearly now we have this huge influx. So PSA's prices went up.
Yeah.
It's official. I'll give you the new pricing. Have
new
you
prices.
looked at it? Are you
I
familiar
have.
with? So go ahead.
So the main difference, the non-price difference is quote unquote bulk, which I guess you can't call bulk anymore. Is the minimum is 10. I would still call it bulk. Minimum is 10 cards now instead of 20. That's good. And they raised the declared value to $4.99, which that's good. So those are the two good things. The rest is bad. Go
So
ahead.
I'm going to argue there's some other good things. So as we think about why PSA did this, I think their biggest motivation, and I would love to hear your thoughts, correct me if I'm wrong, I think their biggest motivation was to actually curb the demand so that they can get caught up, because them getting further and further out from
agree
their
with that.
submission, deadlines being hit makes them look worse, and it's not good for their brand.
Correct. Although for the last year, what has been driving me nuts is the stupid quarterly special. Like, stop offering specials.
There's still a special
on-
right now. I'm looking at it right now.
I mean, what are we doing specials for?
So let me give you guys our new pricing. So two things they did, like you said, they raised the the max declared value to $4.99 on
Yeah.
all their services.
And that's nice.
And
That's
they
nice.
lowered the submission amounts from 20 down to 10.
Right, and that's a great.
And I think what they're trying to say is
great.
don't send us all your bulk just to meet your 20 requirement.
Right.
Give us the 10 that you should grade.
Right.
Two things I told our guys that this is going to be good for the hobby. One is I think people are going to look over their cards a little harder. Because I just got back a Trae Young rookie PSA 6 that I missed a dimple, like an indentation on the back.
I did that on a Prism card.
So now I'm paying. Okay, so I want to give the price.
Yeah, go through
So value, modern, vintage, and ultra modern are the three categories. So 19
and for my Pokemon guys,
and Pokemon.
Pokemon's actually the same price as modern.
Yep. So now you have modern, vintage, and Pokemon all at $20 a card
Right.
with 10 minimum. That used to be $10 for Pokemon. So
Yes.
it went up
It
$10,
doubled on Pokemon.
and it was
15
$12.
Oh, $12.
$12 for the old stuff, and then
15,
ultra modern
15
was
Pokemon.
15, and it's up to 25. So the vintage and the modern went up $8, and then the Pokemon and the newest stuff went up $10
Right.
per card. Now
Right.
that's significant when you're paying
Evan's mad.
$15, and now let me ask you this thought. You know what we had a conversation about today in the shop with Brandon and Mike. What up, Mike?
What up, Mike?
Is what does this do for the value of cards that are already graded?
Oh, it went up. Well,
So-
not only that, what have you been hearing about if your cards that you sent this morning or Monday, when are you getting them back? I heard 1 year.
Yeah, 9 months to a year probably.
That's nuts.
So
yeah, you're not even going to get all that stuff
hey,
back
so
for a year.
think about this. Because now they just got slammed with probably the greatest
Oh, yeah.
amount of cards in one period. I don't know if anyone was on the website. Those of you guys listening, I know a lot of you guys are group submitters. The website was so slow.
Oh, yeah.
It took me 10 times. So normally you type the card in,
And
it
pops
populates.
right up. Yeah.
I sat there for over a minute on every
So
card.
what Clint means is, as you're typing a card, sometimes it auto-populates what the card is.
So then
and
you
just
click on that.
on it instead of type out the whole thing.
And so, because here's the problem is if you don't auto-click on it,
yeah.
you typing it in actually properly with the proper, like, capitalizing the first letters
Right.
of each name and everything, like, it just streamlines the process. You
Yeah.
want to take their listing,
Absolutely.
not make your own.
Sometimes you have one where they don't have one.
They don't have it,
and
you
then
have
they
to
don't
create
have a code for it.
This is like the nuances of if you drop your cards off with someone else, they're doing this,
Yeah.
not you. But like the guys that actually are doing it, you're familiar with what we're talking about. So literally, it took so long. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to get all mine in.
Oh, no.
So I started with all the. So let's go to the express level. So I
Yeah.
had a bunch of guys drop off. The $50 is the regular service, and then the express is $75.
Yes.
The new regular price is $100,
Doubled.
75 went to 150, doubled.
Doubled.
And then the super express used to be 200 and went to 300. So I added 50%.
I don't. Here's my thing. This is where it's getting silly. Is why are we raising the prices on the already expensive stuff? It's not like a ton of. That's not a backlog problem.
No, yeah. Well, I would say this. What are they communicating in that? They're communicating we're actually trying to discourage you sending them to us. Right? I mean, in a business
but the argument has always been we're trying to discourage you from sending your stupid dollar cards to be graded.
Yep.
Not your $5,000 card. Not your 20. What's the point of the price increase on that? So if that's their argument, they're not telling the truth.
Okay, let me throw out
why.
two thoughts on this whole thing that I think I had this thought today is one is where is PSA located? They're in California.
Yeah.
What's the cost of living in California? What's the minimum wage in California? Do you understand them adding employees in California?
Oh, it's huge.
Is way different than Minneapolis. It's way different than Chicago. It's way different than Oklahoma. So it's literally on the level with New York.
Guess who's in a great spot? SGC.
SGC.
They're
right.
in Florida.
They're in Florida.
And so
now
they get a great tax environment. Prices are a little high in
way
Florida,
better
but
tax
not
environment. Yes.
crazy. But the business environment's way better.
Yes.
You know.
So they have the advantage of that now. Because think about this, guys.
Vegas and Texas, same thing as Florida. Like
Absolutely.
good business environment.
Yep.
Actually, a lot cheaper living.
In Dallas. Yeah.
Dallas.
Dallas is where they're at. So think about this too. And I had this conversation with some guys. And I said, the reality is, as a business, they're like, "Are you guys going to stop sending?" I'm like,
And why would I stop sending?
that's confusing. No, but now what I'm going to do is
I'll send different stuff.
I'm going to maybe be a little bit more selective, but I'm also going to factor this cost in on the back end. So now when I miss a grade and I get a 9, instead of me selling the card for 15 or 20, it's going to be 25. It's going to be 30. You know, I'm literally never going to sell a graded card for less than my cost.
I do that in my
It's
case.
like if you don't want it, you just don't.
I do that in my case. Even if I miss, it's like 30 is the lowest I'm going. I'm getting my fees.
The card's graded. You understand I waited 7 months and put that money into it.
Now, if I get a 7, then I just messed up.
And I still might crack cards out.
Might go $10, whatever.
That's something important too, though. Are we going to see 9s
increase in
go
value?
up? Yeah.
Because there's less of them around.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's going to be less current year cards graded.
Yeah.
Now, in general. So what that does is someone who's willing to pay to get a low-end base rookie prism, let's say, of this year's draft class. Like last year basketball, people were literally grading every rookie, every silver. Now, if there's one of those on eBay and you're the only guy who was willing to take the risk to spend the $25 to grade it, plus shipping and insurance, you know, what does that say about that card?
Seems to me like the last 3 years, then if you graded like real low-end stuff, like I got some base mosaic, like PJ Washington stuff in there.
Yep.
Then no one's sending that in anymore.
At all.
And then,
until he blows up, if he does, right?
And then you got to wait however long.
So then you're the first to the market on the guys that.
Because you're sitting on them.
Yep. So like right now, I have a box of baseball slabs, like probably 100.
So do you think that the price increase is just clearing up the backlog, or do you think that the new investors want to return on their money as quick as possible?
Yeah, they want to return on their money. It's also they're capitalizing on the strength of the market. Yeah. Now the problem is I don't think you can ever go back to the old price. Like I don't think you can go.
You can run specials more often.
You could run specials if the turnaround times get caught up.
So this reminds me of an example. I don't know if it really applies, but I'm gonna say it anyway because I learned in business school.
Yeah.
So Hershey bar, right?
Yep.
It was a nickel for. I'm gonna butcher this
20
story.
years or
it was a nickel for longest time, right?
Yep.
It came out as a nickel.
Sure.
Hershey goes, well, cost has gone up and it's been a long time. We got to increase the price of the candy bar, right?
Yep.
And so they increased the price to a dime, right?
Okay.
And they made the candy bar more than twice as big. Right, you actually get more candy, even though
the bar
more candy per penny than you were before.
Sure,
but they're like, we're making a lot bigger, but it's 10 cents, and the sales just crashed. Right, nobody wanted it.
Yeah.
So back to the drawing board, they kept it at a nickel, and they reduced the size of the candy bar.
Wow.
And the sales skyrocketed
because people looked at the price, not the value.
Right, and
in
so
the quantity.
I think the only way I'm
expensive.
really linking it is that pricing is one of the 4 P's of marketing.
Yep.
And it's very important. And if you make a wrong decision on pricing, you can completely collapse your sales and your business.
Well, let me say this. I think we are actually witnessing inflation as well. I think inflation is driving this more so than almost anything. We just had $2 trillion printed.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, one of the strengths of the card market is a card as a tangible asset has the ability to outperform inflation.
Right.
So it shouldn't be a surprise if we're actually experiencing it within the grading aspect, which also means the cards themselves.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we've seen increase in prices is there's more money in the economy, a lot more money.
I think the pricing in sports cards with grading, with everything, I do think that it's multifaceted.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, it's.
You're not arguing. You're not arguing the key. Whenever
I'm saying one of the major aspects here is you have the hobbies booming. You have a new owner, and you have a huge supply of people wanting to grade.
So I think you look at the situation,
and you have the economy.
Right.
Other things are going up in price.
40. Everybody turned 40. They're buying cards.
Right.
There's demand at PSA.
Yes.
That's great price. The cards have gone way up, so it's more popular. So
there's all these investors getting in.
There's fractional ownership of that.
So the question is, because if you were, there's a reason this didn't happen 5 years ago. And so what are all the reasons? One is they didn't have enough people saying it. They probably were running more. They were actually. I remember them running more specials.
Right.
And they were basically like, please send us your cards.
Right,
we have more employees than we have.
Well, it's kind of like at the shop, right? Like you go through these dead periods where like you could really spend like all your attention on one customer.
Yep.
And nobody comes in, and then all of a sudden 6 people in the shop and be like, okay, cool, let me go. Oh, I gotta help this guy real quick. And it's like you're not really giving a lot of value because demand's way up.
Yeah,
I mean, the same thing.
Yeah, their bandwidth is limited.
How do you think this will affect raw cards? Do you think more people will sell the cards
Yes.
they think could have 9 and 10 because they don't want to wait?
So I think there'll be a greater opportunity to buy more raw, good condition
I
cards.
didn't think about that. Yeah, that's good. For dealers,
I wonder if there's not even some sort of, gosh, this is going to sound, tell me, I mean, this is my thought process.
I had no problem.
Is there not going to be, out of this, one of the things that could come out of it is some sort of standardized raw grading? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so Beckett has like the raw card
They
review.
already do that. That's what StockX does, doesn't it?
Yep.
Star Stock.
Stock.
So
StockX.
but like, and here's where I'm thinking about it. Like, rather than sending it to PSA and getting it slabbed with a number, could there be something that comes out where you literally, for like a fraction of the cost, get the card encased in a magnetic that gets sealed, and there's some sort of condition? It's near mint or better.
You're overthinking it.
Near mint or better.
How about Burbank? Check out my cards, Star Stock, whatever.
Yep.
You know, you're a big seller, or Two Brothers down the street from us, because they have a massive inventory of singles on eBay.
Yep.
Just simply put a code of 1, 2, or 3, like the way Star Stock does, and say 1 means it's probably going to be like an 8 or better.
Yep.
2 means like less than an 8, and then 3 is not in good condition.
Like low.
And then we're just making it really easy for you to just buy. So out of the ones, that's the stuff that could be. We're not promising anything, but it could be your 10.
Because understand, dealers, long before PSA existed, got premium for good condition cards. They just didn't get it because it was not slabbed by PSA. They got it because the card was.
Let's do a shout out to Rob at Twin City Sports Cards.
What up, Rob?
What up, Rob? Rob has a store in Golden Valley, Minnesota, Twin City Sports Cards, and Rob is a vintage specialist. And he has a lot of customers that go to him because when he says a card is this grade, he has set up a reputation that he's honest and he's correct. Like you can be honest and just be wrong, right?
Yep.
But he's honest and he's accurate.
He has an expertise that's valued.
And so his customers who don't like grading, a lot of vintage guys don't like grading. They'll go to him and say, "Okay, what is the condition?" He says, "Well, this is excellent. This is what a
excellent mint.
Excellent mint.
X.
And then they're gonna go, okay, I'll pay you X because I believe how you graded this card."
Right.
He's built a reputation on that.
Yep.
There's no reason why a big seller like Burbank couldn't just incorporate that into their business model.
And I think to your point, vintage, especially when I was dealing with putting together vintage sets, if I wasn't doing the PSA registry, one of the things is these guys put them in books, and so graded cards actually become. It actually messes up their set. I know guys who will literally buy a graded card, crack it out to put it in their pages, or however they keep their set.
Why have I not graded my LeBron out of the finance set?
It doesn't fit in your book anymore.
It doesn't fit in my book.
Once it comes out and gets graded, you have to sell it.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, no, if I could find a really bad condition LeBron, I'd buy it and grade the one I got.
Yeah.
Because even if it's gotten
I just had a customer send in that exact card of yours.
Oh, yeah?
The refractor. Wait, which one do you have?
The silver refractor, $379.
He has the red.
Oh, my God.
What's the red do? 179? 179?
Well, yeah, something like that.
It's a big card.
That's a big card. Dude, that card was only like $500 a year ago.
It's a huge card, dude.
The greens were $700, $600. And those are out of 79 a year ago.
Yeah.
I was looking at them because I needed them for the set. I'm going to break up the red and the green. I'm done. There's just no way.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm doing out of 79. I mean, I could have had more money in the last, like a decade ago.
Now it's going to be tough when they're drying up.
And you know me, I'm not going to pony up that type of cash. Just to
so back to the PSA conversation. I did have a couple customers. In some way, I mean, there was some complaining happening, which I understand. I get it. Yeah,
when prices increase?
Yeah, I know.
I never hear about complaining.
But a couple of the guys don't really sell cards, so I'm like, well, how does this affect? Let me ask you this. So one of the things grading has served a purpose for, other than establishing a market for online sales and stuff, is it allowed people to recoup some of their cost from ripping boxes on non-huge hits. In other words, you open a Topps Chrome baseball box and you don't get a Robert Otto, but you get a couple base when you get a base refractor Bichette
little
and you
extra money in
you
it.
put some money in, and then 7 months from now you recoup 80% of your
Right,
box,
right.
maybe all of it, or maybe you make a little bit. Now, how does that affect it? Does it make it even more important to grade, or is it like I'll just take a bigger hit? In other words, I guess I'm going to narrow down the question. How does the increase in grading prices affect the cost of unopened wax?
I don't know. I think what you just explained, and somebody you've explained before, is something that you've conjured up as a dealer, which is accurate.
Sure.
But I don't think most collectors think of it that way.
Okay.
I think if if you're listening right now, you should really take that to heart. Like, that is how you recoup some
You mitigate your
losses
risk.
out of a box,
Or, yeah.
right? Or mitigate your risk, right?
Yep.
But I don't think your average collector is that cerebral
Okay.
about the return, because
Just-
we
yeah.
have to be with our business.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a little more of an emotional, just enjoy the box and
Right, and
decide
I wanna
later.
because I really like this card. I don't
Yep.
think your average collector is really thinking that deep into it. I think. But if you're listening, take it to
Because
heart.
tomorrow, Donruss basketball comes out. I got 2 boxes only.
You only got 2 boxes. I'm getting 0.
They're $1,000 a box, John.
God.
How do you open a box of Donruss at $1,000 a box and get your money back without
You
grading?
can't. You
Right?
can't.
No, you can't.
It's impossible. You literally got to grade everything.
You
out
have
of
to
that box.
grade-
You got to grade every. There's probably like 9 rookies you got to grade, and then
Yep.
hope that 3 of them pan out so you
Right.
can sell them.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
So I'll say this much for all those of you who are collecting graded cards and you're sitting on a lot of them, which I am personally, and so are you, John.
Yeah.
This increases your portfolio.
Yeah.
Your portfolio took a 10% jump today,
or
or
something,
5% or
yeah. I
whatever.
mean, you're using that
I'm
as
making
a
up a
real
number. Yeah,
number.
the number
Not
is
a
not
real
the important, but there's an increase in
premium.
and there's a premium on
Definitely.
graded cards. So I mean, I'm gonna keep sending. We're gonna maybe be a little more
but
particular,
again,
but
I think what happens, I think the increase in price actually is a big benefit to people like me and you, because we can absorb those costs.
yes,
We're not collecting the card. We're simply a conduit to make a sale, and so what do all businesses do with added expenses?
you pass it on.
Pass it on to
It
customers.
goes to the bottom line. Yeah.
Yeah, and so really to us, it's actually a bigger opportunity. It's one of the things I talk about
I know.
when I'm saying there's real risk to government involvement in
Mm-hmm.
card hobby. And like, let's say there's licensing,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to pay in order to do a group break. You got to pay $5,000 a year license.
Yep.
Me and you can absorb that.
Yep.
If anything, it's a great opportunity.
So what
for
this
us.
does is
It hurt the guy in his basement going, "Oh, I got a case, and let's do it with my friends."
So if I'm hearing you correctly, to kind of phrase it another way, is like this hurts those with less capital more
Yes.
so than those with
It
capital.
hurts just
Yep.
your smaller collector. That's
Yep.
what it hurts.
or a smaller dealer who's like maybe
Yeah.
only grading 5 or 10 cards, and now
Right.
they're like, maybe I'm only grading 2 or 3, which their profit is tied to their grading,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, like and the other thing is, I'll say this much. Generally on a collection, I think all it does is it takes away a little bit of margin for us.
Yeah.
Meaning, I think the cards now are going to maybe go for a little bit more, but not enough to compensate for the whole increase in cost. But let's say we grade a 100 card order. A lot of times we'll get all of our grading fees back in our best 2
Yeah.
hits. Like we hit 2 big 10s.
You got a 10 that you weren't quite guaranteed.
And so you don't necessarily distribute. And this is an interesting thought. I don't know if you've ever thought of this, but I don't necessarily distribute the $25 cost on an ultramodern card to one card because
No.
I'm sending in 100 cards.
Yeah,
that
no,
make
you're
sense?
right. I think what you're saying is you're sending in 10 cards, let's just say 10
Yep.
cards, and you think they're all going to be 10s, right?
Yep.
Otherwise, you wouldn't send them in.
Sure.
But you also know they're not all 10s.
They're not.
Right? And so I talked about my order that came back where I got 40 10s and basically 69 that I wanted.
Yep.
And I said, I really got to flip that, right?
Yep.
I got to
You
flip
wanna
it to
be 60,
10s
40,
and
yep.
40. So and I don't know which ones they're not going to hit.
Yep.
I have to attribute the entire
Yes.
cost to
To
the
the-
entire order.
The entire lot.
And because I don't know which ones are going to be 10s and which ones are going to be 9s, because I think
Yes.
they're all going to be 10s.
Right.
Right. And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, you
Exactly.
can't attribute it directly to one card. It's directly to the batch of cards.
Yep.
that you sent.
And so the value of the if you're listening and you're thinking about it, the way this is helpful on a practical level for a collector or a dealer is you go, well, this card, if it doesn't 9, I'm losing money. Well,
yeah.
you should look at the whole
Yeah.
Because you're going to have some cards on the higher dollar that actually are going to absorb some of the grading cost for the other cards. That makes sense. Your bigger margins.
I just thought of something. So we got Sam in the studio
What up,
with
Sam?
us while we're on air. I just said a bunch of incorrect information.
Thank you.
So Sam's friend came in today, and he had a couple things. We were talking about maybe putting him in on K-Bid, right?
Okay. Yep.
And one of the things that I brought up was he had 2 items, right?
For those of you
Because
listening,
he only-
K-Bid, what is K-Bid, John? Give quick.
K-Bid is a hyper-local online auction house. I'm an affiliate of it. 350,000 bidders, 250,000 are in Minnesota proper. So we
people
can sell
can-
big common lots. We can do all sorts of fun stuff.
Yep. Gives you more flexibility on sizing than eBay.
Oh, good
Somewhat.
times. Our first phone call during the podcast.
Nice. Late night call.
Tell
man.
them to go do things to themselves. This is hilarious.
Or just hit end.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Ooh, Evan with the assist.
Evan's going to get hired.
like
Nice.
it. So, what was I saying? I have no idea what I was saying. Okay. So, hyper local auction house.
K-Bid.
And he had an autographed jersey, an autographed helmet.
Yep.
And he goes, he is so much more focused on being risk adverse.
Right.
Because he's only got the 2 items. If they don't hit, then that's a loss.
That's
right?
a loss, yeah.
To me and you, we put up 2,500 lots each this year so far.
Yep.
I don't care if you had an Alex Bregman 16 by 20 autograph photo and JSA certified.
Yep.
Went for $8. And you know what?
No big deal.
Neither one of us give a flying crap
And you know
that it
what
went
else?
for
And
$8.
here's the reason we can do that, John, is I didn't buy that item by itself.
Well,
and that
but
it comes back to the
let's
PSA
say
comments.
you did and you paid $40 for it, right?
I'm going to
You
make it
still
somewhere
don't
else.
care
No.
because
Yes.
in the course of the entire
Yes.
auction and every auction during
Yes.
the year, that thing's of
You,
aberration.
you actually don't want to think about profitability in business and in card dealing.
any
one transaction. So I'll give you an example. This last collection we just bought, I bought an 86 Fleer Jordan sticker, PSA
Yeah.
8. At the time, we paid 70% of comps. Comps were 10,000. I bought it for 7.
Mm-hmm.
That card's down to 5,000.
Oh wow!
I actually told the guy I'd take 5,000 for it. It's like, why would you lose money? Well, it's at market, and the reality is that was one of 30 cards. Multiple other cards have gone the other direction.
Right.
I'm recouping $5,000, and I'm not viewing it as like, oh, I lost money on that card. In the whole collection, some of them are going to go up, some of them are going to come down. What I'm doing is sell, sell, sell. Like I'm always in, and you are too, we're always in sell mode. And sometimes I'm recouping my cost, and sometimes I'm making, a big margin.
Well, no, it's like I talked about last podcast. I gave away a 1989 Upper Deck baseball set to somebody. In the last auction.
It's just part of the nature of the business.
And it's like, I asked up, but how much we've made in K-Bid? Like, I mean, it kind of blows, but
not really.
I can't fixate on it too much.
Well, no, and then like in this auction that just finished, like we absolutely crushed a few of them.
Yeah. And some of them went for like, what are you talking about?
And I think what we're almost hitting on without directly saying it is like take the big picture approach. Right. So even when you look at PSA, take the big picture approach.
Take it back to this when we're talking about the small collector.
Sure.
Just like Sam's friend, he can't take the big approach because he only got the 2 items.
Yep.
Now everything's tied up in those 2, and there's no 1,000 other items where you're like, oh, I'll get my money back on 1,000 other items. Well, that's the same thing in PSA. If I'm only sending, I can only afford to send in 10 cards a year. Like you're really tied to those 10 cards.
Well, and then you know what else you're tied to, and this actually becomes, and I dealt with this in our first few years. It's something that we've had the privilege of kind of working out of. Is if I can only afford to send 5 cards, and I send them, and they come back, I'm now incentivized to literally get the absolute top dollar for all 5 of those. So what happens is sometimes I actually don't sell the card profitably.
Right.
And I hold it too long, and I don't sell it at all. And so one of the things we're in the mode of, Mike and I. What up, Mike?
What up,
Mike's
Mike?
my partner at Absolute. He's the founder. I'm just along for the ride. One of the things Mike has taught me is like we're always in that sell mode, and the reality is the more your cards you're dealing with, the more you can take a smaller margin and just keep turning it, right? And that's the goal.
Well, I mean, it's like right now, if I'm really busy in my shop, I'm into my second year. I just started my second
Congrats.
year. And
Cheers to
if
that.
I got a lot of
You know, most small businesses don't even make it a year. So
What's up?
cheers
I'm
to that.
awesome.
Cheers to
Thank
that.
you. Thank
Cheers.
you much.
Cheers to
What's up?
year 2. Here we go.
We're clinking Gatorade and other drinks, and and I might have 4 people in the shop.
Yep.
But when we went to Iowa, when your shop, you had 20 people in your shop.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. As
Yep.
you get bigger, you don't have to make massive amounts of transactions. You don't have. You don't even have to develop as good of a relationship.
Even though that's always your
with
goal.
each customer.
And I think that's what's made us what we are. Is like we don't want to lose that.
Right.
You know.
No, that's always the battle
Yeah.
as you grow.
Yes.
So this is your battle now.
Yeah.
Is how do you keep that personal relationship with the customers, which card shops rely on?
Right.
If I come in a card shop and I can't have a conversation with the owner and I can't BS about sports and I can't whatever, that loses a lot.
Well, and I'll
of
say
what
this
I'm
much:
doing.
as much as like now we've started dealing in bigger cards than we've ever dealt in.
Yeah.
I still haven't lost my love for cards. When someone comes in and shows me a cool card they pulled or a card they bought, it doesn't matter the value. I'm not like, oh, that's not $10. Like
There are dealers. Like
I know
that.
there are, and
Yeah.
like, and that's sad to me. Like,
Oh, it is.
I still have the collecting. Like, I love my Palm. I showed somebody the other day a Palm Molitor. I just got one in a sealed pack, a Hot Numbers 1994
Oh, cool.
Flair
Yeah,
insert, and it was on the top of the back. I'm like, this is one of my favorite. It's like
Dude,
I'm the only guy who cares about an
I was
unopened pack
just
with
about
Hot
to
Numbers.
bring up another Flair card. I was going to say hot glove insert. They're
one
not
of
very
the best.
expensive. It's one of the best cards I've ever seen. Every time I see one, I stop and look at
We
it.
had 2 packs in this lot that came in
Yeah.
with Hot Numbers inserts in the sealed pack.
Yeah.
They're cello, so you can see through them.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
And so we literally had 100 packs we bought from this guy. Only
don't even
2
know
of
what
them.
these are.
Only 2 of them had Hot Numbers.
I'm sorry.
on
Let's
the
go
top.
back. There's cello Flair.
Flair cello pack. So they took them out of the little boxes. Do you know what I'm saying? The Flair came in the little boxes.
So they took them out, but they never opened them.
But they never opened
Oh, I thought you meant they were sold.
No,
like
no,
that.
no,
Like,
no.
How did
They were
miss
no.
Flair
So
cello?
they were never
Yeah.
open. So they just and you know why they did it? They did it to take. He told me he took all the Alex Rodriguez's that were visible
on top.
on top.
Yeah, okay.
He didn't
Might
even
be
open
on
them.
the
So
93,
you know what I realized? How hard those Hot Gloves inserts were.
Oh,
Out of
yeah.
100 packs, there was 3 with Hot Gloves. There was 20 with Hot Numbers.
I taught people all the time who are, bewildered by pricing. I'm like, there are so many great
Cool
insert
inserts.
sets that you can put. Become a set collector.
And
if
you know
don't
what?
have a big budget.
If you can't afford Hot Numbers basketball, buy baseball.
Yeah.
They're literally like a tenth of the price. I'm like, how is this?
Or how about this? How about you buy all the commons in these sets for literally nothing. Quarter boxes, 50-cent boxes, $1 box, $2 boxes, and just wait on the star until you can afford it.
Yeah.
You can have them all done, and all you got to do is wait for the Griffey or.
And then you know what you
or
can do is
Jordan or whatever.
you try to find a way to trade into it, or you
Yeah.
try to sell something to cover it. Or,
There's so many different ways to collect.
For sure.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of wrapping up the
Yeah,
PSA.
I want to roll to the. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. If you got something you want to do.
Well, it was back to your last comment about the customer service battle.
Yeah.
Big shout out to the next topic is directly connected to a customer, Mark. What up, Mark?
What up, Mark?
Mark's a regular listener to the podcast. He told me he's listened to every one of them.
Ooh.
He loves when we give him shout outs.
Super gold star sticker.
So, Mark, you're the man.
Like it.
No, I love Mark. Mark's great. So, Mark let me in today onto one of these weird fads. We haven't talked about this. This is unscripted, John. I want to know what your thoughts on this. If you even heard of it. When he mentioned it, I had no idea. So, there was this Instagram deal with, what's her name? Kylie Jenner? Is that right? I don't even know her name.
Okay.
Kylie,
Do I know what you're talking about?
So,
Sounds right.
so she was like, there was something about the most, you know how like they rank the hottest topic or trend? I don't know how they determine it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Like what's
Trending topics,
what's trending the most, right?
Yeah.
And it was Kylie Jenner. And so for some reason, sports cards got involved here. The
Okay.
2019 Allen and Ginter egg card.
I didn't know that had to do with Kylie Jenner.
It did.
Why?
So people are posting that in eBay when they sell it. It's like Kylie Jenner Instagram.
Okay, so what does she have to do with
Evan, jump in on this. Do
the
you know?
egg? No, hold on. Wait.
Okay.
Let's before Evan starts ranting.
Yeah.
I knew about the egg. I knew the egg was selling for a lot, right?
Yes.
Which, by the way, this is a 5-cent comment on Allen and Ginter.
This is hilarious.
What did Kylie Jenner have to do with the card?
So people wanted to unseat Kylie Jenner as the most trending topic, and they decided that it was going to be the Allen and Ginter egg card.
And that's why
And
they
so
referred to it as the stock market guys just trolling.
So like Reddit did a post about it. And so what
hilarious.
happened is it drove all these people Like, listen to the title on one of these recently sold. It says, 2019
awesome.
Allen and Ginter Instagram egg piping hot social media card. So,
It was at 14 when I saw it last.
so literally, this card is selling regularly. So Mark told me he pull out 80 of them. He has
Dude,
80 of them.
I've sold. By the way, shout out to K-Bid buyers. If you bought any of my bulk lots in the last 3 or 4 auctions, there's probably 25 or 30 eggs in those lots.
Guess what an egg card raw is selling for right now?
You just showed me.
Hey, we're not talking about the
You
golds.
just showed
We're
me.
not talking about the minis. We're talking
Base
about the
card.
base card.
Yeah.
It's a 10-cent card.
You just showed me $35.
No,
When I looked last week, it was 14.
No.
What?
They're $80.
You showed me a
The
bad
last
listing,
sale.
Evan?
The last sale right here is $75 raw. Raw. I'm saying raw because people are gonna start grading this egg card.
Dude,
What is
okay,
going on?
wait. Everybody listening, do not grade the egg card. For the love of God.
This thing will crash.
I don't
quicker-
care.
no,
I don't care how packed fresh it is. Don't grade it.
I said something to Mark about it, and he goes, I'm a capitalist, man. Or so he made some comment that we made. He's like, it's all about capitalism. So literally.
No, dude, you know what that was like? This is why having a database is big. Remember Burbank and the
the
Menendez
hoops, the
brothers?
Menendez brothers
What
card.
were they selling the Menendez brothers cards for?
They sold
At
literally
30?
1,000 of them at 20 or 30.
Yeah, $20 or $30. They sold 1,000. They made $30,000 cards.
Yesterday, this card,
Okay.
I have literally
$20 for
100
it.
sales at $50 to $80.
Unbelievable. I saw that card a bunch of. I know I have at least 20.
I went to a box. I can't find my comments from this specific year. Yeah, I haven't found
Dude,
it. They're in the
I've
shop
had
somewhere.
so many in the last 2 months. They all went on K-Bid bulk lots.
It's just
There's
print-
probably some in the bulk lots that just sold
Nice.
right now. So if you are the high bidder on the 2 big bulk lots on K-Bid tonight, look for the egg.
Well, and here's why I bring this up. So I don't know if you're
I'm
familiar
not
with.
gonna go looking for
Are
them.
you familiar with the
Bonus.
news? Barstool Sports. You know
Yeah.
Barstool. They do
Yeah.
the pizza reviews and the
Yeah, that
Barstool, they
guy.
got-
I like that guy.
One,
Cool guy.
one bite, everybody knows the rules. You know that
Yeah.
guy. One bite, everybody knows the rules. As he's like 3 bites in, I love this guy. They literally purchased. Did we talk about this on the podcast? They bought Golden Auctions.
Oh no, we didn't talk about
They
that.
bought Golden Auctions. Which,
Wow.
what does that tell you?
That guy got some money.
But hold on, what does that tell you? They see an opportunity because they're social media heavy. They're younger generation,
Yeah.
right? To
Golden
somehow
really got a lot of high end. Some of these record breaking cards.
somehow to revamp like the old school auction experience to make it something that like the modern young hip kid wants to like be a
Right.
like, which is very intriguing. They don't put money out. I think they paid him like $50 million.
You know what that is?
They're not wasting
You
their
know
money.
what that is? That's $1 million cards. $1 million cards attract that.
Yep.
It gets in the news.
It gets in the news. So my question is this the result of cards now have become so mainstream that like the social media impact actually
No.
can move markets? Or I mean,
Yeah, I mean, yeah. No, I mean, culturally, that's always been the case.
I don't
but,
get
but,
this.
But
I
I
don't
want
get it.
I want to get into something more interesting. So, the egg thing's weird. I don't know what's gonna happen.
So get your egg cards out.
But before we started the podcast, Evan has some opinions on Allen and Ginter as a set.
No, I just think it's. I mean, I guess I get.
Do you know the history of it, by
No,
the way?
I
Evan?
understand.
Okay.
I get it, but
Okay.
I just think like I mean, I understand the novelty of it combined with sports, but me as like a personal
Collector.
if I spent hundreds of dollars on a hobby box and I got a whatever relic
An
of
egg.
a comedian or an actor or whatever, I would be upset.
You'd be frustrated. Yeah.
Well, but ultimately, then you're
Yeah,
just
it's
not
like-
the customer for that set.
it's
No,
not.
I
It's
know,
not
yeah.
a
It is
true.
like you're
it's
overly
it's
angry
not.
about
It's
the
not a
background.
pure.
I just think it's just not.
It's too out there. It's too
Yeah.
oddball. It's too.
But, but for the guys people that don't know the history of it, Allen Ginter was an actual set
Yeah.
In 18
pre-war,
yeah. it's
Whatever,
pretty
a
wild, yeah.
long time ago.
and they would. It wasn't a baseball or a sports set. It was
Yeah.
just kind of whoever was
Random
famous,
stuff.
right?
Yeah,
and so
well,
if they don't do that, then it's not
yeah.
Allen Ginter.
Yeah, I
or Goodwin
understand.
champions for that matter.
Yeah.
I
So
get
Allen
that.
and Ginter is literally the first baseball card set. 1888
Yeah,
is the first year of
okay.
cards.
So what I think I'm gonna-
150 years ago, I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
But let me say here's what's going on is so a lot of these old sets.
But wait a second though. What about if there is a really popular musician who's in the set who doesn't have any card anywhere else? That's the only card he has.
Well, that's what happened with Kim Jong,
Yeah.
the actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what else
Gotta
happened
give
is
him TTM.
hey, you know what else happened? Like this year, like I saw Chip and Joanna Gaines from the show Fixer Upper
Yeah.
have an
Oh,
auto in
yeah.
Allen and Ginter.
Yeah.
And he made some comment on social media about like signing his cards. He's like, how cool is this? I have a baseball card. Like, here's one of the things about it is it feels like a novelty, and for you true baseball, connoisseurs.
Wait. Before you go, in one of the lots I bought, there was an autograph of some guy. I don't know his first name, but his last name is Carabas. So there was a framed mini auto, and I'm just going through it, and I look it up. They're selling for like $60, and I went, oh, I know who this is. He's the guy who's been warring with Jose Canseco on Twitter, and everybody started buying his car. It was like a $3 auto.
That's kind of like the Coolio auto in the whatever.
Oh yeah, and
set.
Yeah.
I mean, last year in Allen and Ginter, I think one of our customers pulled like a Biz Marquee auto or something. It was like $300.
Where else are you gonna get a Biz Marquee card?
Yeah,
other than Pro Set?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
MTV
I understand it from the novelty aspect, but I don't know.
I would just argue that it's not the product for Evan.
Yeah.
But you're not arguing it's a bad product,
most
though.
People.
Are you arguing it's a bad product, though?
No.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Now, I'll say this much. Goodwin Champions, I think, is even further out there. Last year, they had like dog cards and stuff. Like, that was kind of weird. But think about it. If someone
I'd rather do Ginter than Goodwin.
Ginter's
Goodwin's
like a tops
really
product. They have all the,
Yeah. But Goodwin's really bad with their inserts. I mean, they're super creative, but there's really nothing to collect.
Now, let me say this.
Like the dog.
I'll tell you a story. A couple years ago, the guy who owned the store prior to us taking over the location, we had no direct involvement. We didn't buy out his business or anything. Right. So one of our regular customers used to be a customer there, and the biggest pull in that entire shop in the history of the store came out of Allen and Ginter.
Okay.
And someone actually pulled a relic of Beethoven's hair out of Allen and Ginter.
Yeah.
And it sold for over $5,000.
That's awesome.
So I'll say this much. As though it's not like it's kind of – it doesn't fit with the standard baseball, set.
Right.
It does afford an opportunity like we're talking about.
Yeah.
For them to kind of go outside the bounds and go like, we're going to put in a card that like there's no other way. So Joey Chestnut, one of my favorites. I think he's the GOAT.
Does he have a card yet?
He has an autograph in Allen and Ginter. He has a rookie in Allen Ginter. He has an on-card auto, and I'm still looking for it. The guy's got 13 mustard belts, John. He's the GOAT of eating forever. He only has one card in Allen Ginter. So, like, there's actually people that are fans of this guy, and I know you're giving me a disgusted look. My tradition on July 4th is to watch Joey Chestnut just crush the competition. I mean, it's like a car crash. You want to look away, but you just can't. This guy's literally eating 75 hot dogs. I mean, so without Allen and Ginter, we don't have a Joey Chestnut auto. So I appreciate that.
So we go down to the National in 2019, and we go to Clint's favorite restaurant, Chili's.
What up, Chili's?
Yeah, Clint loves Chili's. I think we ate at Chili's
every night.
4 nights where we didn't have a party or something.
Yeah.
And him and Uncle Dan, what up, Uncle Dan? We're sitting in the booth, and Clint proceeds to talk about Joey Chestnut for 20 minutes.
I have a deep love for him. I really do. I'm a big fan.
Did not enjoy that conversation.
Now I bring it up. It only took us, John, 18 podcasts for Joey Chestnut to make it into this.
Oh, man.
But the guy is probably a greater champion than anyone.
But let me grab one more and then we'll move on. Is 2019 Goodwin champion had my favorite band, 311.
Okay.
It had autos of all 4 band members. And
on one card?
They had a quad sign card. So each band member has their own card, but there was a quad sign card. I think it was going for $6,000 when it came out. $4,000.
Was it like a 1-of-1 or?
One of 10.
What, 10 of them?
1 of 10 maybe.
10 of those.
No, I don't. They might not be one listed right now. Yeah. I mean, they might be, but I mean, it's 1 out of 10 or 1 out of something. I would love to own that card. I wouldn't have that opportunity if it wasn't for.
Well, and to sum up this whole conversation, yes, Ginter is supposed to be weird. It is weird, but one of the cool things is that Reddit, a social media, blog site, is interested in cards. Like, they're affecting the card. I mean, this is groundbreaking. This has never happened in sports cards, where like some random card, they somehow find it and they literally drive thousands of sales to $50. Like, legitimate people are spending US dollars, like real money that they're working for on this card.
But if you, I mean, when you spend $30 to make fun of Kylie Jenner.
Yeah,
I wouldn't, but like I get why people would.
Yeah. And they want this to be the top
card.
Trending whatever.
So I want to talk about one thing, so I can talk about another thing. All right.
1 + 1 okay, I got it.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
tracking you.
It's a conduit to something more important. So, Top Shot.
Yes.
Have you done any research on Top Shot?
I just got a text from a customer asking me if I'm tracking it and what I think about it, because now it's coming to the NHL. It was primarily basketball to start.
Can you
right?
explain like how it works and what it is?
It's, to my best understanding, there's captured photos of
Video
specific. Is it all video or is it all?
I don't know if it's all videos, but video.
I think
clips.
there's.
I think it's video.
Okay,
clips.
so it's video and still
Maybe
shots.
photos, yeah.
They're connected to real events in sports
Yes.
that then become digital archives that you buy, and they're limited on who can buy them.
Right. So I had to do a little research on this because it's very tech heavy, and I'm not a tech guy. So there's a thing called non-fungible tokens. All right. So God bless Wiki. I clicked on fungible.
Nice.
Right. And so what fungible means is interchangeable, basically.
Okay.
So a dollar bill is fungible because if you buy a card for me for $1,
Yep.
I give you $1, and then I come back a half hour later and say, "Oh, I want to buy something. I want to buy something for you for $1." You can give me a different dollar,
Yes.
and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what dollar. I'm not like, "Oh, give me my $1 back."
Yeah.
A dollar is fine. That's
you
fungible.
don't remember the serial number. Yep.
Now, non-fungible means not fungible, right?
Opposite of.
The opposite. So that means you have to deal in specific items, right?
Yep.
So the token represents the item. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So in this case, what you're buying are non-fungible tokens. The token is connected to the video clip in the situation, right?
Yep.
And so what you're buying is either an entire token or you're buying a part of that, a fractional part of that token.
And are these video clips the NBA owned? And is the NBA involved, or did Panini buy them? Or
I don't know.
Who's selling them, by the way?
I don't know because I haven't done much research on Top Shot because I think it's stupid. So I didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just
research on
start with saying I think the strength of the sport card market is the fact that it's tangible, and so
And
it
here's the
feels like
thing,
it's
like,
trying to make something that's tangible into
On non-fungible tokens, though, Gary Vee's real hyped up about it. And I kind of kept linking to Top Shot, and I'm like, this is stupid, right? Yesterday, or the day before, Sports Card Investor video clip comes up, and they got a new app. So I mentioned this before the podcast, and you looked at me funny, which means I know you didn't watch this video, so this is cool. So we can... Clint is looking at me like a dog that's saying when you do the head tilt because you're not sure what I'm about to say.
I'm not.
So, Sports Card Investor, was this Jeff Wilson?
Jeff Wilson.
Jeff Wilson. He invested in a company called Dibbs, D-I-B-B-S.
D-I-B-B-S.
Oh, I'm loving that. You don't know about this. Okay.
No, I don't.
D-I-B-B-S. So what it is everybody's trying to come up with the stock market for cards, right? They're using non-fungible tokens. The token, because remember, it's not interchangeable,
Okay.
is attached to a specific card, right?
Okay.
You can buy fractional shares of the token, right?
Okay.
On top of that, you could put a buy order in for an entire player, like every card that's in their entire system. You could go $500 on this player, and it will evenly purchase a fractional share of every card under that player, right? Or you could buy a rookie class, or you could buy, it said there's a bunch of different groupings you could do, or you could buy a single card, right?
Okay.
And what it's going to lead to, in my opinion, it's not live yet,
Okay.
but what it's going to lead to, in my opinion, is a massive number of transactions, right?
Okay.
One of the things they're going to do, he mentioned it, so what he said is you can go to Sports Card Investor, put your email in and get in a drawing to do the beta. And I put my email in. I want to see what the beta is like, mainly because I want to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. No, I like knowing about what's kind of
Right. So he
up
goes.
and coming.
He doesn't explain it, but I know exactly what it is.
Yep.
He goes, put your email in, and then if you get invited to the beta, if you do some deposit, you get a frac pack. They're gonna make packs of cards where you get a fractional piece of different cards that are in their system.
This is complicated.
It's not complicated.
I
It's a
mean,
pack of cards, Clint.
no, because now the pack isn't even
a
the full.
repack.
It's not
It's
the
just a
full,
repack.
but it's not the full card. It's a
No, it's not the
fractional
full
percentage of a player,
Right.
not a specific
So
card
if you
of the
want to
player.
buy a Michael Jordan rookie card and you only have $50, you can buy a Michael Jordan rookie card.
A percentage of it. Yep,
Yeah,
correct.
And then what they said is, if
Yeah,
you,
but not in the pack. The pack's a gamble, right?
no, but
Yeah.
the packs are a gamble. But think about that: you could buy a pack and potentially get a fractional piece of a Michael Jordan card, or you get a common card.
So it's
or
another
whatever.
form of gambling.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the fact that they
Big
layered
shocker.
in the packs is amazing to me, right? Now this goes back to what we talk about graded cards.
Okay.
If you're holding high-end cards, because it's going to be mainly high-end cards,
Because I have some high-end cards.
it's always high-end cards. All the high-end cards are even going to get more upward pressure because these companies, because this is not the only fractional ownership company,
I know.
they need the inventory to back
To
the
sell,
non-fundable
yes.
token.
I know.
If you don't have the hard physical asset, by the way, they're keeping them in PWCC Bowl.
Yep, that's great.
But they need the hard asset to back the token.
Yep.
That's just going to provide more demand for those high-end cards.
Because think about this. This is one of the concerns about high-end cards has always been, well, who can afford them? Well, now
That
everyone can
is
afford them.
why
I get
I
it.
said
Yes, I
wait
get
for
it.
later in the podcast.
And that's the strength. The
You don't need a
the
millionaire.
weakness is, here's the weakness. If I can point out what I think could be a so the I assume the one site I saw that sells fractional shares,
Yeah.
you could only buy and sell on certain points.
Yeah.
It's not fully liquid, like I can move in and out of my. In other words,
Yeah,
because
this one, it would be that
it
way.
would be so literally
From
at
base
any
one.
point I could sell my percentage of that card,
Yeah,
and there'd
at
be
the
a buyer
current-
on the other.
at the current market
but I
value.
mean, I go on the so I trade the SPY. SPY
Yeah.
is the S&P 500 ETF.
Yeah.
It's the whole
Yeah.
S&P 500. It's the most highly traded ETF in all of the stocks. There's times where I'll put out an option, like a call, or I'll put out like a credit spread, and there's literally 50 million sales volumes
Right.
a day on this stock, and it doesn't fill. What that means is there's no one else on the buying end of what I'm
No,
trying to
and
sell.
That's always going to be the risk.
Yep.
It always has to be a buyer. So what you're going to get is you're going to get that spread between the buy and the ask. That's still going to
The
be
ask
a
and
thing.
the bid and the ask.
Yeah,
The bid and the
the
ask
bid
are
and
going to
ask,
be well, and the more people are trading, which I like this for high-end cards, is the more volume of traders, the tighter that becomes, the more higher liquidity, less
Now,
friction.
in order for it to work, you need a lot of people participating.
Yep.
If a lot of people aren't participating, it doesn't work. But
so the
I
question
think
is,
that
will
whole
old
pack
school
of cards
collectors?
thing is amazing.
That's cool. I mean,
I think that's an amazing ad.
to be honest, my enjoyment in the hobby is, and this is, I'm probably an anomaly. It's very much not connected to the opening of packs. I know that may sound crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy.
I'm a set guy. I'm a grading guy.
No,
I'm
yeah.
a vintage guy.
I've become more of a set
I'll
guy.
say this much. I would be very excited about opening a pack of 52 tops. I would go 2 years, 5 years without ripping anything to open one pack
Yeah.
of some vintage. But like just plowing through like boxes and boxes and boxes of Series 1 baseball. I don't know. It's just not the way I'm wired. There's nothing
Well,
wrong
I
with
mean-
it. People
I mean,
people
you're
love
just-
ripping a case of something.
You're just wrong.
I'm
That's
just
okay.
wrong. I'm just
I mean, like usual. I mean, you're used to it by now.
I mean, it's obvious.
I mean,
For
like,
all of you
don't like
listening,
those
you're all
facts,
like, "What's wrong with this guy? He's into cars."
Everybody
he doesn't-"
listening going like, he's wrong. Clint's
He's just wrong.
John's right yet again.
Well, and this year, John, you've been there for one of the two boxes I've
Yeah.
opened, and both of them contained a Justin Herbert autograph. So I'm done for 2 years.
You're pretty excited. When
I'm
you
2
pulled
for
them,
2. I was
right?
excited.
and that's why.
But here's the weird part: like, I have no more impulse to like now want to rip other boxes.
Yeah, that's
out.
weird. Because usually when you pull something big, all you do on it. See, this is the way it
You
works.
actually convinced me to open another one that
No.
night. I need to blame you.
No, here's the thing.
You
This
tricked
is the way,
me.
This is the way it works. You open a box of cards. If you hit big, you're like, well, I got to open some more cards. There's some big stuff coming out. If you open a box of cards and you get skunked, you go, well, I got to open some
I
more
got to
cards.
keep going.
'cause
Yeah. There's always a justification for the next rip. I get it. I know.
I love the rep. So, yeah, so I'm actually very curious about this.
Is this something you'll personally, as a collector, invest in or buy in? Or?
No, I mean, yeah, I'll probably dabble in it. Just say, yeah, it might be fun, but I think it's really set up to be a day trading site for cards.
Cool. I like that.
But my bigger aspect of it is going to create that demand for those high end graded cards because they need that inventory.
Yeah.
for the token.
So-
back to token.
So my question is, how do I get connected with those guys to sell them some cards? Because I have cards.
I guarantee you. They're
Are they
gonna be
just buying on eBay, or how are they buying?
I don't know.
Private deals.
I don't know.
They'll be at the National, hopefully, walking around.
No,
with
yeah,
some-
we'll pull them in our booth and
Go
what
live.
we try to do if we get to 1,000 subscribers, Evan.
Hey, if you're
Evan,
listening, make sure you hit
We
that
can
subscribe
go
button.
absolutely. We go live every night from the National, which we can do without 1,000 subscribers. We just got to be connected to a laptop.
Yep.
Which I don't. You're gonna have to look. You're either gonna have to get us to 1,000, or you're gonna have to figure out some new tech skills. So, we can do it with webcams and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But we get Jeff Wilson on, get Dr. Beckett on. That'd be cool if we can get a couple of those guys on.
Yeah.
So. Please get people subscribed to us.
Yeah, we love it. We love what we're doing. We hope you guys enjoy it. We hope it's adding value to your collecting, selling.
All right, so how deep are we, Evan?
Almost an hour.
Almost an hour. So I'm good in terms of topics.
We got the book. I mean,
All right, and we'll have the book.
Well, I
and
want to
then-
bring up something.
yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Evan.
In terms of like the PSA price increase, I want to bring up like how that affects baseball, like prospects.
Sure.
Okay.
I think that takes like a big hit to prospects MLB because like you're investing in guys you don't know if they're gonna pan out or not.
Right.
When you're spending like that extra money to get them slabbed, and that might not become anything. So I've seen that's been a big topic I've seen on groups and Facebook and stuff. Is like I don't know if I'm gonna send this in now because
So people are going to hold raw cards
Yeah.
longer to wait for the guy to
Yeah.
develop. So I think what you're going to have is, I don't know. I think the volume of cards graded in baseball will go down slightly, but I also think what it's going to do is it's going to push grading further in the future, meaning people are going to wait for that guy to actually perform and realize his equity.
But the problem is,
Yep.
we gotta go into the weight.
Right.
But if
Well,
they get
that's-
caught up, maybe we don't.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like baseball is so like
Long term.
yeah, like that compared to like football
Yes.
and the
Yes.
NBA. There's no AAA, there's no
Right.
AA, and there's like the G League for NBA, but it's not the same in that capacity. So.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not so heavy and so
Yeah.
layered.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thought, Evan. And I think, unfortunately, on the lower now, I think Bowman first autos. Like I had a customer just send in 6 autos of first year guys.
Yeah, well, I'm
some
talking-
golds and some.
Yeah, I'm talking about like just base,
Yeah.
just common.
Well, because you want to have them in hand.
And to be honest,
right?
I don't think you should be grading base common.
But that
Well,
you
that's the
want to
thing
have
is
him
that
in hand when
prospects.
he makes his debut.
Well, that's the thing. Are
Sure.
we going to shift more to numbered cards, auto
Right.
cards?
Oh, no, yeah, sure.
Compared to.
Yeah.
is this
Well, I
gonna-
think I'll say this much
make a
from my
difference?
interaction with a local collector who's a large investor in higher end sports cards. I'm aware that he will. The savvy collectors who are
Yeah.
putting serious money into the hobby, which is driving this boom, are becoming very aware of population reports, actual scarcity. So serial numbered is part of that. And then on top of serial numbers, you have serial numbered grading,
yeah.
the grading of a serial numbered card. So you
Yeah.
have a pop report of an already.
I mean, maybe the argument is that top gold is going to be far more popular
This,
than base tops.
I think that's
Yeah.
exactly the point. That the top's paper
Or
gold.
rainbow foil.
Well, those aren't numbered though.
No, they're not numbered. Well,
No, they're not
like
numbered.
the blue foils on opening day
Are numbered. Okay.
They're not numbered, but they're the print run was announced. They're
Okay.
2000 or
Yep.
whatever.
I mean, and that's that app Card Ladder. I think we mentioned that talks about, like, you can pull up a card and look exactly at the pop report. I think you're gonna see, and Evan, to your point, Evan, the amount of Mike Trout update base cards being graded going down isn't a bad thing. I think what it does is it increases the demand, like you said, John, for the short print serial numbered stuff.
Right.
So
We got a visitor. Damien's gonna rock the house in a minute. So,
what up, Damien? What do you got for me, John?
so let's get right into the book then.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I knew we didn't have a lot of topics, but I knew we were going to talk a lot about topics.
Well, I
we
mean,
had.
I'll say this much too. We can always come back to, like, some of the sports card investor
Now,
stuff.
here's
There's some
the
weekly
thing.
stories.
Like,
There's some
as
fun
we
stuff.
talk about the books,
Yeah.
when we did the first chapter, I believe we talked about cars about 30% of the time, or business at the very least.
Yeah, business. I mean, this
There's
is like
a lot of business. Rule number 2.
Okay, so let's introduce. If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, I'm really grateful for John having introduced me to this book by Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life: An Antidote to Chaos. 4 million copies sold. I mean, it's a very influential writer currently. I mean,
I've been listening to Jordan Peterson for 3 or 4 years.
I'd never heard of him, so I mean, I've been enjoying reading him. For those of you listening, like, even though John and I both run businesses, like, one of the things I've challenged myself to, not only in the area of like exercise and working out, like, I want to continue to learn and read, and I haven't been great at reading other than stuff directly connected to the hobby. I feel like this book for me has already been helpful. So we're reading this book. John's like, hey, if we can talk about it, that'll help. I think we get more out of it.
I've been wanting to talk to somebody about. I'm probably 300 or 400 hours of listening to Jordan Peterson talk on YouTube.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to have a discussion. To go back to when we talked about chapter 1, this would be episode 15, and we're always going to do it at the end. So if you're like, I don't care about this, well,
you can turn it off.
Then,
well, and this is our unscripted conversation. If John and I were connecting on a weekly basis, we're just bringing you into the conversation we're going to have about the book.
So just to, I guess I got to explain this every chapter that we do. I read the book. The first chapter was Stand Up Tall. How to go stand up tall with
your shoulders back.
With
walk with your shoulders back.
I read chapter 1 and I immediately threw out my back, and I was injured for a year and a half. So my back is good. So if there's any bad juju with the book, I think it was happenstance and not actually bad. Not because of the book.
Right.
So
chapter 2.
So
rule 2.
Try to do this every week
or every other
chapter.
Yeah,
because here's the problem. At 12, that means it's going to take 6 months instead of 3 months. Let's try to read the chapter.
I'm trying, but part of it is, for me, there's a lot to digest in it. Like, I sit down and, like, I was taking notes on this chapter.
Well, that's why one chapter at a time is the most you can really do. Right?
For sure.
All right, so the way I did it for the first chapter, I just wrote down little quotes. And I don't know if this is how you're supposed to do book club. I've never been part of one. But it's just ideas, because I like philosophy a lot.
Yeah.
And I like morality and ethics, and I like to. We've had a lot of really good discussions about them. I thought this book would be a good prompt.
The formation of, like, what people would refer to in philosophy as like a worldview, like what determines how you view things, and like whether we know it or not, everyone has if we want to use the word, a theology.
Yeah.
They have a belief about life and existence, a system of belief, and so all this is doing, like, he's doing a good job of getting me to think about my system of belief, and then kind of like giving me opportunities to like reevaluate or to strengthen different things.
So he has a rule, right? It's a rule, but at the same time, he's not even telling you what to do. He's just saying, here's a general rule, and then you look at your life and you try to figure out, how do I apply that? Where could I apply that concept? Yeah. So rule number 2, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. And at the very beginning, he refers to, and I think this applies to almost everybody, they talk about how people who get sick, they go to a doctor, the doctor prescribes them medication.
Yep.
And I didn't write down the numbers, but a large percentage of people won't fill the prescription.
Yes.
Right? Then, of the people that fill the prescription, won't take the medication.
Wow.
Right?
1/3 won't fill, he says.
1/3 won't fill, and then there's another...
Half of the remaining will, but won't take it.
Right, so half of 2/3 is 1/3. So 2/3 are not taking the medication.
Not taking it, yep.
So the majority.
That blew me away.
Well, it didn't blow me away because I'm that guy.
Wow.
Right? I constantly don't take the medication prescribed to me, and I constantly don't fill the medication prescribed to me. I have to be in a significant amount of pain. I need to be in, well, not only that, I have to be in active pain to take the medication, and once the pain goes away, even if I'm supposed to keep taking it, I stop taking it. So one of the things in the last year I've done is, one of the things my doctor told me I have to take vitamin D.
Yeah.
I'm not in any pain. It took me a year to just start taking it every day. I would take it,
build the
not
routine.
take it for 3 weeks.
Sure.
Because it doesn't do anything. It's not like
you don't notice
D
it.
And a force field comes upon you like He-Man, and then you put your sword to this guy. Like, he just took it, and like, it tastes good.
Yes.
Like, I get the gummies.
Yep.
So like, that's fun. And I get candy every day.
Vitamin D in the form of candy.
But the flip side of what he talks about, because listen to what it says treat yourself like someone you're supposed to take responsible for helping.
Right.
Not treat yourself. What is Evan doing? Anyway. So it says, what is going on?
Is this actually
Evan?
a joke right now? Evan, are you actually
I love
pranking
this.
us on
Evan
air?
with the unprofessionalism, ruining the conversation. He's frantically trying to fix the problem.
Wow, Evan, you're the best.
So you're responsible for helping, but it talks about if you have a pet, right?
Yeah, I love this.
And your
This
pet
is good.
hurt or sick, you rush them to the hospital. You fill that medication. You dutifully give it to them on time within the right window. You know, and that's absolutely true. Most people will take care of their pets like that, but they would not take care of themselves like that.
Right.
And then you know, we go into the why.
And I love his language around order and chaos.
Yeah.
And he uses a bunch of examples. A couple of them. He tries to just. So I think the title of the book I think is important. So it's an antidote to chaos, and he describes some things that practicals. He's like, when your tax return has been filed, that's order.
Right.
When you're audited, that's chaos.
Right.
That one registers with me. I'm
Yeah.
like, I love the feeling of getting my taxes done.
Have you been audited yet?
I have not.
Ooh, nice.
I haven't been audited, and I've gotten my taxes done. I always take an extension, and the day I get them done, it is literally like I'm walking on the cloud. So, like, when he says that, I'm like, oh, I know that. And it's like we're all in this pursuit of order.
Right.
And we're always encountering consistent, like, in business, right? I told Mike, like, I've resolved to, like, as much as I want the chaos of, like, the projects and the stuff going on to always get into order, I've resolved that it's never going to be perfect. And as a business owner, it's like you try to do the best you can. You're striving for it. But you also realize, like, this is kind of par for the course. Like, there's always going to be this measure of...
One of the things that comes up a lot on the YouTube videos is people fixate on... One of them, he refers to chaos as feminine and order as masculine.
That's
and then, so he gets in an interview with a feminist interviewer, and she's very upset about this. And he'll say, look, I'm not saying that order is good. He's not arguing order is good.
Yep.
Because if you look at it, like order versus chaos, all it is explored. He refers to explored territory and unexplored territory.
Can I give
Do
you a
you
quote?
want to be trapped in a world where you only deal in what you've already dealt in?
Right. No.
That means you will never buy another collection again.
It's not stimulating. Right.
You'd never buy another collection as a business owner, and what would happen?
Yeah. Our profitability would go to zero.
And you go out of business. Yep. So you have to have chaos. You have to have that collection coming in.
And he talks about the yin and the yang side of it. Like, but he also, here's a quote on page 38. He says, chaos and order are two of the most fundamental elements of lived experience, two of the most basic subdivisions of being itself. But they're not things or objects. They're not experienced as such. Things or objects are part of the objective world. He says they're inanimate, spiritless, they're dead. This is not true of chaos and order. They're perceived, experienced, and understood to the degree that they're understood at all as personalities. And so he goes into, like, how we experience them and why we have this, why the relationship between them is important. And I think I think this chapter, if I was going to describe it, it's like it's all about, like, self-awareness, right? It's about, like, me looking at myself and not, like, thinking of, like, oh, that'd be really good for my spouse, or that'd be really good for someone else, but like having the humility to be like, how is this, like, operating in my life, and where am I?
Well, one of the things that resonated with me is, I don't want to overdo the way I grew up, because it wasn't the worst.
You've moved past it, though, in a way that most
but I don't want to act like I had the worst childhood in the world, because I didn't. But the way I grew up between the abuse and the neglect was, you get a self-image that you don't have a lot of value.
Right.
And so why would I take care of myself? And that's
because no one else is taking care of me. Yeah.
Well, why would I take care of myself? It's very clear that I don't have enough value to do it. So so then I'm going to take care of other people.
Right.
I'm gonna like when we were first married, and when the baby was born, Annie and Kirby had health insurance, I did not, because we were trying to save money.
Right.
And it's like, look, if I don't want to get too dramatic, but like if I died, that's not a big deal. But my job was to make sure that
you're prioritizing them, you're serving them and protecting them. but the neglect, unfortunately.
But here's the thing. Annie would keep saying this. She's like, but if you're not around, that's bad for us.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Took me a long time to
believe that.
Even understand what she was saying.
Sure.
Like, yeah, but you guys are still.
Because you bring a benefit. You bring value, and that's something that I've realized this.
Yeah.
I was raised, fortunately, where every day I went to school, my mom hugged me and told me she loved me. That's not the normal experience. I know, and I still to this day realize the impact that had on me because my parents believed in me. They told me I could do things that I didn't believe I could, and without them helping me resist maybe those voices, those demons, those lies, those fears, whatever you want to call them, those things the chaos.
Yeah.
Like, I think there would have been numerous times in my life journey to this point where I would have just quit. And the fact that you didn't maybe have the same affirmation, and yet you've resolved.
Well, not only the same affirmation, but I was literally told I could not.
Right. You were actually told the opposite.
Like, how dare you? And it wasn't directly said like this, but based on multiple statements, multiple comments, it's like, that's not for you.
Right.
And some of it was there were people who have tried things and weren't successful.
Yeah.
And the concept is, I think some of it is the concept is, how dare I think that I can do something that they couldn't do?
Which is not what you're saying.
Projecting that on me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's taken a long time to figure that out. You know, I had to sever a decent number of relationships just to open the card shop. Because I knew certain people, if they were in my ear telling me I couldn't do it, I would give up.
Well, let me say this. Boundaries, to your point, I want to affirm boundaries with people are incredibly important. Meaning, it is okay, and you have to have a measure of self-worth to realize this person is impacting me negatively, and I'm going to actually set a boundary. I'm not going to allow them to do that because I value myself, self-care.
You know it's really hard when you love that person.
Right. And they're not loving you, and they're actually
they do love you, but they're just treating you in a manner in which is
or they're not demonstrating
detrimental.
It. Yeah, detrimental.
Right.
Which I think here's what it takes, I think, to his point. Love, what does he say? Take care of yourself as though it's someone else, or how does he phrase it?
Take care of yourself like someone you are responsible
like someone you're
for helping. You're responsible.
So
I have a duty to help myself.
I'm responsible for myself. And so, it reminds me of the words of Jesus, who, for those of you listening, know I'm a Christian. I love Jesus. He's transformed my life. I haven't really shared my whole testimony of that as to why. But one of the things he says is literally what Jordan Peterson is saying. He says, love your neighbor as yourself. And you know what? I heard a pastor one time say, that's part of the problem. Meaning, if I'm treating someone else really poorly, there's a high probability I'm actually treating myself that way first, right? Because I can only give someone what I first have received myself.
I don't know if you remember this, but this actually came up on a past podcast where you had made that line. I go, hard disagree. I love saying hard disagree. I go, hard disagree. And you're like, what? And I go, I treat people way better than I would treat myself. I would never subject somebody to the amount of abuse that I can take and have it not bother me.
Right.
I can take a massive amount of abuse and be like, okay, whatever. But I would never treat somebody else that way.
But I think the next step is, as you treat yourself. Okay, so let me put it this way. You're treating them better than you treat yourself. So what if the level you treated yourself increased? How would that impact others?
Does that make sense? Would even get higher,
do you see what I'm saying? So I'm just making the connection.
Be even better
exactly.
To other people.
So, in other words, if I have a really low standard for myself, but I'm treating other people who I am responsible for better, one of the things that's going to help that is for me to actually receive and believe in my own worth, which is going to spill over to everyone else.
Yeah, one of the things I've always had, I would call this an ability. I kind of get harmed by it a lot, but I don't give out compliments to people. I refuse to give out gratuitous compliments.
You mean like flattery or like actual?
Flattery,
okay,
flattery.
Yeah, you're not gonna like
I don't just go, oh man, and it frustrates a lot of people because and you've been on the receiving end of this where you'll say something and well, nah, that sounds sort of immoral to me, and then you're like, wait, what? Most friends would be like, you'd be like, you go, girl, like, and then be like, and then go home and be like,
kind of like a superficial, like.
I'll just be like, nah, it seems like really immoral, or you shouldn't do that, or are you sure you're not being a jerk? You know, like, instead of, like my wife will come home and she'll be ranting about something. I'm like, yeah, but what'd you do to create that?
Right.
And it's like, why don't you just support me? I'm like, I am supporting you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the one thing you do
and,
get is I'm so self-critical.
Yeah.
I'm critical towards others because I love them. If I don't like you, I won't even say anything at all, right? I'll just let you drown in your own.
But wouldn't you say the problem becomes that he's pointing out in this chapter is when I get to a place where I'm so valuing others, I end up neglecting myself. And the example that came to my mind in this, I don't think he used it, was the first thing you hear when you get on a plane. I know you don't like flying. You hate flying. What do they tell you? Put your mask on before you help someone else, right? And so, like, I think that's his idea is, like, we think we're helping other people, but if I'm not first caring for myself, I'm actually robbing them of it, right? So like, and it's not a selfish thing, actually. It's I'm like you're valuing yourself.
Properly, I can put the mask on a child much more calmly and get it done correctly.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, like, even with your family, you have this desire, like, well, we want to save money and I don't want to have healthcare. Well, if you not having healthcare costs you your life, it actually hurts them more than you losing the money. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Not even that. It hurt my business.
Right.
I had a gout flare that lasted 2 years, and I just suffered.
Yeah.
Through it, and so I remember doing listings when I very first started. I had a gout flare that lasted 2 years, and I remember hobbling back and forth. Well, I could have got 2-3 times the number of listings done if I would have went to the emergency room, spent $400, and got some prednisone.
But would you say minutes. Like part of it is if your parents, like if you growing up with your mom, if she was so money conscious that she didn't you know what, you're valuable, I'll put money into your health. Like,
no, right, but everything was about saving money and everything was about what
like I remember an experience when I was a child where I felt bad that my parents were having to pay for a surgery, and they were like blown away that I would feel that way. And I think that's a natural thought to be like, well, I'm not worth this much. I don't deserve it. And to have someone actually affirm that it's profound.
Well, I'll tell a story. Fortunately, my mother's dead. She'll never listen to this. But like when I got my first job at Carson's Prairie Scott, which is a big department store in Minnesota, and little side point, my very first day of work, I worked in so this is like 1995. I worked in the women's shoe department.
Wow.
And this is when Married and Children was big, so I figured I was Al Bundy at this point.
Wow.
I was like, oh, this is my life. So I worked in the women's shoe department. Very first day, I go home. I get home at night. I put on the news.
Yeah.
And on the news, the first story is Carson Prairie Scott has been sold to Mervyn's and will close down. And like my first day, right? And so I spent like 4 or 5 months there, and my mom cleaned up because clearance and the employee discount, I got some epic clothes.
Oh, nice.
Epic clothes, like
so it was worth getting. It was getting worth getting the job.
Yeah, cleaned up. But one of the things was, I remember one day I was late. My mom would pick me up.
Yep.
I didn't have a driver's license, and she would pick me up, and she would say I was late one day, and she was screaming at me the entire ride home because I was late. And the premise was, why would you make me late? And I can't remember why I was late. Maybe it was something I did wrong. But the premise was, I make $28.35 an hour. You make this much. Do you think my time is worth so much more than yours? Look what you make. Look what I make. And this is your value and this stuff. So I just was like,
very connected to the bottom line.
And when she got done, I went to my room and I go, that makes sense. Right?
Logically.
So I accepted that reason. Yeah. It took me until my 30s to go, no, I'm learning job skills.
And not only that,
like experience.
And not only that,
I'm an adult.
Yeah, and not only that, your mom's at that point speaking out of her fear related to finance and her whole child, everything she brings into that.
I think that might have been more of a dominant play, but like the argument's a horrible argument. It's an awful argument.
But to be honest, that's like the argument is neglecting a whole topic, which is like I should be caring for my like the value in my son is not just in the money I make.
He made in
like
that hour, and then I went
like that worldview is just so like that like that's an abusive like.
But here's
mindset,
the thing. The math worked out.
Right.
I mean, in a vacuum, the math did work. So I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Right.
So what happened was when I lost that job, I didn't really look for another job.
Sure.
Because my mom would have to pick me up, and then she made 4 times more than I do or 3 times more than I do. So then there's no real value for me having a job.
So I can't make up for it.
I didn't have a job till my senior year after that.
Well, and for those of you listening, like, don't view the value of a job. And I think this is just a learning point.
Oh, yeah.
Don't view the value of a job directly by the dollars you make in the moment, right? Some of the jobs I've worked that have been the most helpful, I haven't even been compensated financially for them.
Well, I'll go back to cards for a minute.
Yeah.
When we first met and you got into the card shop, I would constantly, like, go, hey, let me help you here. Hey, let me help you there. Like, you were doing a storage auction once, and I was like, let me help you clean that out.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what that was like.
Sure.
Now, was I helping you? Yeah. We were just at the beginning of our relationship where, like, we're getting to know each other. But I'm like, I want to see what it's like to clean out storage room.
Yeah.
So I remember you're like, oh, can I give you some money? I'm like, no, I'm good. I just wanted to see how it went down. So now I have that in my knowledge base, right?
For sure.
Or I would go, hey, let me help you with this. Like, oh, no, I'm good. Well, here's the other thing. In the later years, I would be at the shop more because we were doing K-Bid, but I would do extra stuff. A lot of it was I wanted to get what you were doing as a shop owner.
Sure.
How were you operating with the? How were you buying collections? A lot of the way I buy collections is from watching you and Mike negotiate how to buy a collection.
That's awesome, man.
I've never bought a collection before.
Yeah. No, that's phenomenal.
Until 2 Novembers ago.
And that's the beauty of relationships.
I didn't get paid for that, but I got way overcompensated.
As they say, right? And this is, I feel incredibly blessed with the amount of people I've had surrounded me. And you're one of them, someone that knows way more in a bunch of areas. Is like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Like, so right out of college, a little story. Right out of college, I actually moved in with this family. Who the husband, they own a daycare center in the Twin Cities. They own multiple businesses. When he was just out of college, he did a bunch of investing, and he was like a financial advisor. And then he took over. He's been an entrepreneur his whole life. And I literally asked him, I'm like, can I move in with you guys and literally just shadow you? Like, and he allowed me to. He's like, yeah, for sure, man.
It's amazing that he allowed you to.
I mean, we had a great relationship. He led a Bible study that I went to in his house.
Okay.
They introduced me to my ex-wife. I mean, that's directly connected to us getting to know each other. All this stuff. Awesome family. Still close to him to this day. But literally,
I would argue that you're how old are you?
35.
No. How old were you when this happened?
Oh, I was 22, 20. Yeah, 21.
It's a real credit to you that at that age, you will see the benefit of doing that and not be compensated.
Well, I literally told him, I literally said, I was like, I want to watch you as a father, as a husband, as a business owner, and literally.
You want to see how to get a life like that. How does he operate?
Sure. Like, what does your day-to-day look like?
You know what? Think about it. How many people would want to live with Gary Vee for a year?
Thousands. Yeah. People would sign up right now.
I bet you could get 100,000.
What you would observe, and I told our employees.
Wow, I didn't. Yeah.
We had a dinner with our employees the other night. We gave them some bonuses and took them to steak dinner and just thanked them. Honestly, I'm grateful for the guys that have made our business what it is. It's so much more than Mike and I, and it's you, John. It's all of our partners.
Right.
And I told these guys, I said, as much as I would love to compensate you more financially, what I can offer you is I can help you make money in a business, might not even be cards in the future.
Right.
I'll give you
building a set of skills.
Building a set of skills, and if you'll see it with, and I think this is the topic of tonight, is with a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like, not be so fixated on like your mom. I mean, she was a little overly fixated with the hourly versus the big picture of like, if my son learns to work, a work ethic in and of itself, 20 years from now is worth tons. If
I think we strayed from the chapter, but I want to add something. This is one of the things I told our dear friend Evan when we started.
What up, Evan?
I said, like, I don't care that you don't know how to set up a podcast.
Right.
Like, he knows more than me, which is great. But that's not the biggest compliment I can give a person, knowing more than me about this stuff. Like, I know basically nothing, right? And I said, look, man, we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get through all of this, let's say we're a couple years down the road, and now you know how to set up a podcast from scratch, and you know how to use the software, and you know how to edit the stuff, and you know how to do it. That's a massive basket of skills. And I would much rather work with someone who's learning that, as I'm learning that, than be told, like, do this. Like, okay, I don't know why, but all right, we'll do it. You know, and there's a massive advantage to getting those skills, because if you want to do it yourself, then there's money at play. There's way more time because now I got to find someone to do the podcast. Oh, I got to do the podcast myself and do all this stuff.
And
you know. But I do want to add something about the book, though, on that wanting too much order is not good. So a couple of examples he talked about is like forced migration and concentration camps and aspects like that. Those are your most severe human because there were leaders or groups of people that wanted something a certain way and they wanted to have it perfect. And because it had to be perfect, you had to do some really evil things or you had to do some really destructive things.
Amen.
This is one of the reasons why I'm so anti-communism. Communism is built on perfection.
Yes.
And in order to achieve perfection, you have to murder a bunch of people.
And let me add to that. I think as I've grown in my life, which I'm so early on in my life, maybe I'm a third of the way through, I don't know, whatever it ends up being, I've realized so much of life is lived in the gray area versus the black and the white. So the black and the white, now I believe in absolute truth. I believe in truth. So I'm not in some way like creating some form of relativism where I'm just like, your truth is your truth and mine's mine. You know, like that's not what I'm saying. But like, I think the like in my adolescent mind, it was always black and white. And so like, it created these very extremes, right? And I think one of the things he points out on page 43 is he says to straddle this fundamental duality is to be balanced, to have one foot firmly planted in order and security and the other in chaos, possibility, growth, and adventure. When life suddenly reveals itself as intense, gripping, and meaningful, when time passes, you're so engrossed in what you're doing, you don't notice. And that's when you're located precisely on the border between. So like each order and chaos have a strength and a weakness, right? And so like
and
we see
the other to balance.
Right, and so we see the weakness of order in like the destruction of people
and we
to produce
boiled it down to a car shop. If you don't buy collections, buying collections is chaos.
Yep.
If you don't buy them, you will go out of business.
You will.
You can't have a beautiful, perfect store and not bring in this wild collection with Jordan artist proof, but you got to find them.
And a lot of dust.
And you got to organize it.
You know, right.
Yeah. One of the things
good.
I took away from this that was really interesting is he talked about chaos when it's brought to the extreme. As he talks about how selection between so in terms of humans and their offspring, women are the ones that choose who will become the parents of children.
Yes.
And because of this, he talks about how everybody has twice the number of female ancestors as they do male ancestors, even with the amount of order that we have, right? So,
very interesting.
Order would be like the church saying you may only have children with your wife.
Yep.
And you can only have children with one spouse.
Yep.
And those are rules. That's order. And what that does, it allows for more men to participate in the gene pool. Because if you leave it just pure chaos, a very small number of men will sire basically all of the children. And that's chaos taken to extreme. Then what you end up having is there's a bunch of genetic problems with that. And then you have some societal problems. Now, one of the main societal problems with that is you look at China's one-child policy.
I was literally just thinking about China's one-child policy. Yes.
Now they have all these men.
Yep.
What do you do with a massive number of idle men who do not have mates? What is the one thing you can do to keep? You go to war with them.
Go to war.
And so one of the biggest threats China has to our country is just that they have all these men who are worthless. Right? Men are worthless, even though they value men more. But men without a mate is doesn't hold a ton of value, right?
Right.
So when you have a bunch of them, and
they do.
They do. You get what I'm saying. They don't bear children.
Well, and I'll say this:
they don't bear the children.
Both. It was interesting that God said in the beginning, "Let us make man and woman in our image."
Yeah.
So the image of God is seen in both men and women, distinct in a unique way.
Right.
And it's in the bringing together of them that you carry it on, which is it takes both.
But
I get it.
By low value or worthless,
Yeah.
From a genetic standpoint,
One,
you need massive number of women to promulgate the species. You only need a handful.
Because we talked about this. Like, if a woman was to literally conceive from the moment she was ready until the moment she stopped, every 9 months, one woman could have how many
20.
kids? So let's say 20.
Maybe.
Sean Kemp has had how many kids? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Sean Kemp has 8,422.
So literally, he could literally have 8,000 kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
every day, multiple times a day.
You could, in theory, have impregnate 3 women a day.
So,
I mean, I'd be very tired. I'd be very tired. I mean, but that's the thing. So they don't have a lot of value, and so what you do is you go to war with them. That's a massive societal punishment for doing that. One of the other ones I thought was this is the other thing too, though. So here's the value of that, right? So he talks about women. Women reject men significantly.
More so. You're right. Yeah.
I mean, the imbalance is significant, right? Yeah. And so then the men become self-conscious because of this rejection.
I found that interesting. Yes.
But because they are now self-conscious because they got rejected, they must become competent at something or in general in order to attract the woman or a woman that would not reject them.
Yes.
And this is why you see young men having very little value to society, but then they're forced to become competent at something, and then they have massive amounts of value on the back end.
Yes.
Because they're forced to go to school. They're forced to start the business.
Which is interesting, though. But do you know
all because of the rejection.
Yeah, but do you know the stats, like on the amount of women graduating college versus men? It's staggering towards women.
We're not talking about any one thing. We're talking about competence
in general, right? So people pursue different forms of that based on what their values are.
This could be. I didn't go to school, but I started a business.
Yes.
I started a successful business. I
started selling sports cards. Let's go.
Started a sports card.
I go out on dates right now, and I just I think they feel bad for me. They're like, "Can you make a living?" Like, I've literally had so many people ask me, "Can you make a living doing that?" I'm like, we're trying to. I mean, at the beginning we didn't know.
I won't bring this up if you don't want me to, but can I talk about your data and cards?
Oh, sure, man. I mean, it's classic.
Okay, so
we got some fun stories. I hope not all of them are listening.
Unfortunately, Clint had to part ways from his wife
after 8 years.
So he's back in the dating pool. And
at 35, it's fine.
Clint comes in and goes, "Yeah, I went out on a date with a girl." And then
is that how I said it, John?
I was talking to her, and turns out like her family's got a bunch of baseball cards in the basement. And so I made a big deal with their family, and like, look at all these cards they got. And so I go, and then this happened 2 times now, right?
It's true, yeah.
2 times.
Well, the same woman's.
I thought it was different women.
No, same woman's family twice. 2 different deals.
Okay.
The second one she didn't even come with. It was just her parents.
Okay, so
awesome.
You got
Classic.
these deals. So I'm sitting here, I'm watching this amazing lot you got in. And I said, so I gotta go home, tell my wife I'm getting a divorce, lose 150 pounds, get on Tinder?
Bumble. This is the Bumble.
And then just be like looking for collections.
So literally, what happened?
I'll tell my wife it's a business.
Hey,
decision.
I mean, I've obviously vet these women, and like this girl's like into sports, right? So she's like telling me how much she loves Reggie Miller, and I'm like, oh, cool, you know. And then she's like, so I end up telling her about the card shop. She goes, oh, my mom's gonna love this. She goes, my dad's had a whole room in their house full of, he did some horse trade back in Sioux Falls with the owner of a card shop that closed, and he literally obtained all this inventory. And she's like, my mom and I are freaking out, can we bring it to you? And she sends me a spreadsheet. I'm just like, this is some good stuff, man. This is classic. Like, how does it? And then literally the first time we met, John, because she lives in Sioux Falls, was her and her mom driving a carload full of cards to our shop.
You hadn't even been on a date yet.
Hadn't even been on a date. And so literally my first date encounter with her is me making an offer to her, which put a lot of pressure on me to like really pay strong, because I'm like, you know, I feel like I paid stronger than I normally would. So I mean, it was.
Gotta make sure I make her a good offer.
I mean, I don't.
I feel bad for Evan's girlfriend. I'm sorry about the breakup tonight, but Evan needs some more inventory.
I mean, I didn't want to lowball her and be like, you know.
I'm just like, I'm trying to do the math. It's kind of like my mom's math in the car. I'm like I divorced my wife. Get on Bumble. I gotta lose some weight because I'm kind of fat.
But let's be honest.
My wife loves me. You know?
Yeah. But let's be honest. There's not that many women out there with card collections of this magnitude. So I may have found the diamond.
So you found the unicorn.
And we haven't really connected that much anymore. But I mean, you know.
But no, I just think that it's really interesting how this stuff does have that relationship where it's like, because women are choosy and they reject men, they make men become better.
Which, it's like
because they don't want to keep getting rejected.
It's a side benefit, right? You don't even realize you're doing it. Yeah, for society. And it's like you don't even realize you're doing it, but it's like the nature of the experience of rejection, which it's interesting. I always used to tell guys this. I had a kind of a spiritual mentor tell me this early on. He said, one of the benefits of being a man is you get to lead and you get to put yourself out there when you want to make known your interest in a woman.
Yeah.
And part of the fun of that, I feel like some of the risk of that is there is the chance I'm going to be rejected, but guess what? The reward is that much greater. It's like your business. Like, if taking the risk to start it, if there was no chance it was going to fail, would the success feel as good? Does that make sense? Like,
well, it's interesting because I've never asked a girl out before in my life.
Okay.
It was made known that.
It was made known.
It was made known, and then.
So you've never had to have the relationship?
My wife asked me out. My wife asked me out in college, and I told her no. And
classic.
Then 6 months later, I'm like, okay, maybe, or I don't know. Yeah, maybe 6 months later, I was like, maybe we could go on a date. No, did I ask her? Kind of, but she sort of said it to me first.
That's so funny.
No, I've never gone up to somebody that I didn't know and said, hey, we'd like to go on a date.
So you never allowed yourself to be rejected? Or have you actually experienced it without?
I've never allowed myself to be rejected.
Interesting. So did you ever ask someone to a dance? Did you ever? No,
who would
none
want
of
to
it.
go out with me? Again, we go back to what we originally talked about. Like,
what?
I don't bring any value.
Well, obviously your wife saw value in marrying you, which is.
I mean, she was mistaken.
You still think that? No.
No. But like, I always told Annie, I go, so Annie wanted to be married before she was 30. Mm-hmm. What up, Annie?
What's up, Annie?
And she goes, so we started dating right after I graduated.
Yep.
And we were dating for 8 years. Mm-hmm. The way it worked out was I asked her to marry me, and she was 30 for a week, but I was still 29. It's my greatest achievement in my life because I'm 6 weeks younger than Annie. So, and
the greatest achievement is you marrying someone older?
Yeah. So
okay.
No. My greatest achievement is that she wanted to be married by she was 30, and because I strung her along so long that she was 30 when we got married. But I wasn't. I was still 20. I was still in my 20s. it's like the best timing ever.
Yeah.
And so I bring that up, every year. And every year. Well,
how many years have you guys been married?
2009, so 11 years.
11 years.
12 years. I don't know. One of those 11 or 12.
It'll be 12.
Will be 12.
When's your anniversary?
Okay.
Don't play games.
No, I'm not playing games. All I know is shut up. So
what up, Annie? We're gonna whip them into shape.
All I know is Annie's birthday is in September. I know that.
You're kidding me.
So it was October of 2009, but the Vikings lost to the Titans. And so what I can do for that anniversary, I always look up. I remember the year now. I used to remember the year, but we don't play the Titans every year. So all I had to do is get about the right year, and then when we lost to the Titans, that was the day I got married.
And so you haven't found a way to actually memorize. Do you know Kirby's birthday?
I know Kirby's birthday.
Do you know your own birthday?
Easy one. I know my own birthday.
Okay, that's good.
I know my wife's birthday. I learned it 2 years ago.
Oh my God.
Like, I know it. Like, well, no.
This is called chaos, John. We're finding order in the chaos, I think. This is great.
I'm not a day guy. And then,
but John could tell you every card pulled out of a pack.
She wanted to be in her 20s, and she missed it by like a week or two. It was awesome.
Classic.
Classic
That's
indeed.
classic.
So I got a question for you. So
please.
there's a lot of Bible stuff in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never read the Bible.
Okay.
I've read really small parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is I grew up Catholic, and one of the things about being hard of hearing is you don't know what's happening.
Sure.
I didn't know sign language, and I was hard of hearing, and I couldn't understand half of.
So when did you learn sign language? How old were you?
18, and when I went to Gallaudet.
Okay.
And so we're gonna do maybe 10 more minutes. We've gotten pretty deep into it. So anyway, you can't hear it. So that's one of the reasons why I never became particularly religious. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And so he talks about Adam and Eve. And I know the story. Like, I've never seen Star Wars, but I know the story.
Mm-hmm.
I've never read the Bible, but I kind of know the story.
Yep.
And it says like Eve, and I know you have a background where you've done actual study.
I actually have a Bible major.
Yeah, that's why you're theology, major, right? And then when God asked if they ate the apple, Eve narks on Adam. Did she narc on Adam?
She blames him.
She blamed. It was her fault.
Yeah, and so
you got to explain this to me. Like, why would she be? Why would she? What was it like? God knew she did it, and then she was like, "Well, he did it too." Try to deflect some blame.
Yeah, and so I think this is a common experience in life. Like I think back to my childhood when I got busted for something.
Yeah.
Like it was always someone else's
My
fault.
brother made me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a way of like avoiding responsibility. Like I think there's a humbling reality to like me actually owning when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And not saying I did it because there's no conditions on it. And so like I mean, I think as you read the story of Adam and Eve, I think one of the big takeaways for me personally is how rather than me being like, "Oh man, how could Eve do that?" It's like I see myself in it and I go, "Wow, I do that."
No.
Like I do the Adam and the Eve part. Like the Adam part was he didn't take responsibility.
Yeah.
And the Eve part was she didn't either. And they were both in this finger pointing, and they both had a part to play, and neither of them did it perfectly. But the cool part was like God was wanting a relationship with them despite their sin that opened up this door to the chaos we see in life.
He gave us
choice,
hardship.
Yes.
It's like, I'm not gonna make it so easy on you now.
Yep, life isn't gonna be as
one
easy.
Thing.
Yes.
You didn't do it. All right.
There was this toil, the toil for man and the pain of childbirth for woman were literally introduced for the first time. Like for all the women out there, if there's any women listening,
that was something that I found interesting in the book, and I can't remember how it went, but it was like, so women have to experience the pain of childbirth, but then men have to give up all of their freedom.
Yes.
To toil away
the pain
to get the resources to protect and
to provide for her. So each of them have pain. One is very excruciating, very intense, a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
And then the other one is it's not nearly as intense on a day-to-day moment, but it's a weight. Like you can feel the weight. I feel the weight. Yeah. Like especially more so when I was married. Now it's a little bit different, but like the weight of like I'm not like, and I think this comes full circle to the start of the chapter is care for yourself like someone else you're responsible for. Yeah. Like the weight of pressure for me and for you as a father and a husband to provide for your family, you want to in the midst of that not forget about taking care of yourself.
No, right.
You know what I mean? And
that's, one of the things was like I got a loan from my in-laws to start the business, and one of the things whenever I got a little tired, I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that tomorrow, and I just stayed an extra hour. Was I can't slack off because somebody else invested in the business. Yeah, you feel that responsibility of their investment. Sure, to take care of their money. That's not all my money. Yeah, right? No, that's good. No, I got family money in the refinance of the house, and I have in-law money. Yeah, and that's not my money. I got to take care of it. now I'm getting another layer of that, and I'm sure you feel this too.
Yep.
Is now that I've hired a couple guys, they're contract employees, they come and go as they please.
Yep.
But now I'm like, well, now I really got to build this business so I can keep giving them enough hours so that they can make some money here. And I have this responsibility where, like, I want to give them a good environment where they can learn stuff. They can
every time I go on and do our payroll, which is every 2 weeks, I feel the weight of the money going out. And I also feel it keeps me grinding because I have to make that money back. But it also reminds me of the fact that, like, there's other people's livelihoods.
Absolutely.
Mike and I, but then also, like you said, our employee. I actually got a great text from one of our guys who said he said on behalf of his family, he's like, we thank you for the opportunity. And I'm like, wow, that's
really nice.
like that. And that it's amazing affirmation, but it's also like sobering in the responsibility sense. Like, I mean, the Bible says this: to whom much is given, much is required. So I've been given an amazing opportunity and a blessing, and I don't want to like frivolously, so I feel the weight of the responsibility. So, like, I'll say this much: when I look at someone like Mark Cuban, which is like an extreme example of someone successful in the entrepreneurial world, like, part of me goes like, I don't want to feel the responsibility he feels. Like, he has so much responsibility that, like, you think, oh man, there's so much money. Like, he doesn't even probably enjoy things nearly like someone else who doesn't. It's not that he doesn't.
Time to do the thing that you would want to do if you had all
the money. Like, so people think like, well, if I could just, and so that's why, like, in some senses though, doesn't it also protect him? Like, we know the stats on people who have won the lottery and how poorly they've done with the money. I think part of it is because if you have a whole life of chaos, and there's no balance of order, the money just creates more chaos, right? So, like, whereas as a business owner, it's like, I'm fighting the chaos with order, and hopefully I'm using those resources to create more order to balance what I know is going to come for chaos. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I can end it. I can end this conversation because we're getting kind of deep with this kind of concept about taking care of yourself.
Yes, do it.
One of the main things I want to do with this business is build out a fulfillment system, a fulfillment service on the apparel side.
Yep.
So basically, sell for all the pickers.
Yes.
The picking's the fun part. The selling and the shipping and the accounting is all the crappy stuff.
That's the business side.
I'll do the bad stuff. You keep doing the fun stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why I want to go down that route is I want to be able to provide jobs, because this is a very labor-intense type of business.
Right.
I want to be able to choose who I get to hire, and I want to be able to hire from the deaf and hard of hearing community.
It's awesome.
Because they tend to have between 30 and 50% unemployment or underemployment rate.
Because you know that experience.
It might be the one group that has the highest unemployment, except for maybe blind people. I don't know who has higher unemployment between deaf or blind. And so, but here's the thing. I can't fixate on doing what's right to get those jobs done unless I take care of myself in this business so I can build it good for me and my family so that I'm allowed to grow it that I can have jobs.
You got to put your mask on first.
So I have to, you got to put your mask on first. I have to take care of myself.
Yep, that's awesome. I think that's a great takeaway for those of you listening. Like, today I actually did this. I left work early and I ran some errands and did some things that I had to actually, like, get my car washed, get gas, and I actually went shopping. I needed some clothes for, and it's like that all, even though it's not directly connected to the business, like, that actually makes me a better business owner when I have those things in order and they're all taken care of because I'm more patient and I'm more focused and all the things that. So that's a phenomenal point. It's actually, taking care of yourself is actually not selfish in that context because long term, you taking care of yourself is going to benefit a bunch of people in that community by giving them.
If I don't build the business up, then I can't possibly provide that opportunity.
If you build it, they will come.
And or the other way to look at it is, if I don't build it, I've costed all these people I don't know a job. Yeah,
and they don't even know it, but you do.
They don't even know it.
Yeah.
And if I just screw around and like whatever, I'll just take the money from my family. I'm done. I'm not really going to build a business.
Yeah.
Like, how many people? Had I been working hard and taking care of myself and my business, could have I provided jobs for it? And that's one of the things that keeps me working
driving.
Hard.
It's awesome, man.
All right. I think we're good.
Thanks again,
Thank you for listening. Have a great night.